Okay. As we know now, Trump and the USA invaded or attacked along with Israel on Saturday morning. And put your hand up or say yes if you remember. I said that that would happen on a weekend 2 or 3 weeks ago because Trump does everything on a weekend when the markets are shut. And the cynic would say that some of his friends or family maybe made a lot of money because they knew that what was going to happen to oil, for example, and gold and silver. Silver was at $100 over the weekend in Bullion Vault, now pulled back again. But I did warn you about this. And then Brendan says, spooky, spooky that. Well, the main thing is, I told you 6, 8, 9 weeks ago now, I do my annual predictions for the year. And for 2026, you find this in my blog if you go into the investing analysis. And I'll show you a bit more about this a bit later. But the main thing I was talking about, my concern was, and I said in the presentation, we are in probably the scariest times I can think of worldwide in probably since the 60s in all the things that were going on. And I talked about Venezuela before he attacked it, the Middle East, Ukraine, and Taiwan. He was also talking the other day about taking over Cuba. And so if it was the other way around, if the Russians or the Chinese were doing this, there would be hell on. Anyhow, less of my opinion and politics, but I explained that in view of all of this, my strategy would continue to focus on gold and silver as safe haven assets. At the time, I think silver was at 67, and I said somewhere else in here later on, I thought it would go to $100, and it did it 3 weeks later. I have been buying silver again recently, and we'll go through all of that. Now, as Pierre said this morning in his email, we have a bizarre situation now. You would think that the dollar would weaken, and of course, the dollar has been going up. And Ashley's going to be talking about this. Trying to understand what's going on at the moment is extremely difficult. And I think if Trump thinks that he's going to get away with this as a 6-day war like the Israelis last time, with what's going on at the moment, and the other big concern is in Venezuela, yes, he's cut off the head of the snake, but he's left all of the others who had their noses in the trough, he's left them all in power. And if he does the same in Iran, then I don't see that this is going to achieve a great deal, unless the Iranian people are able to uprise. But that doesn't appear to be happening at the moment as well. So again, America trying to force regime change, Israel in there as well. But if this all suddenly dies a death, I don't see what they've achieved. We're going to be back to where it is. It could, on the other hand, as Iran is currently attacking all other states. We've got Grant with us this morning who lives in Qatar. Tianis is living in Riyadh. And we've got Devon with us who is in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai. And probably some of the other guys that are in here are living in the Middle East. There's bombs exploding because the Iranians and Hamas and other groups that they've funded over the years are attacking. The British, who refused to help the Americans, their base was attacked in Cyprus. So clearly Iran is trying to bring as many people into the conflict as possible with presumably with the goal of putting pressure on the Americans to back off. So crazy, crazy thing. But I did warn you about this 6, 7 weeks ago. That was the spooky bit. But it was, again, I try to teach folks all the time, try to join the dots. If this is likely to happen, how is that going to affect this commodity or this stock or this currency? And as a result of which, make a decision before the event. Now, as ever, I explain, I look at different news. This is from an Arab perspective of what's going on, Al Jazeera, because as we know, if you're looking at the news in your own country, they have a bias. And whether it's the BBC blaming Israel or Al Jazeera, whatever the opinion is, it is useful to have alternate opinions. Don't just read your local paper or your national paper every day and believe that that's what's really happening in the world. Get a feel for what is going on. And Barron's were talking yesterday about buying the dip. The fighting in Iran won't keep stocks from grinding higher. Well, if it drags on, then it could. The other implication at the moment is Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz. I think it's something like 30% of the world's traffic, i.e. deliveries from China and Asia to Europe, go through the Straits of Hormuz. If they have to reroute and go around South Africa, is it Pierre, Cape of Good Hope? I can never remember the Cape. It's a dangerous sea route anyway. It's going to add extra time to those routes. And modern day factories and processes now work on what's called just in time. And in other words, if you have a factory in Germany and you've ordered parts or steel or metal or whatever it is that you've ordered that you need it for next week, it's probably supposed to get delivered today. That's how tight they do it, because they want to reduce the amount of stock that they hold, both monetarily and physically, having to add loads of stock. So when this happens, and this has happened before, then that causes a problem. And I read also the other day that insurance companies are refusing to insure these ships to go through the Straits of Hormuz. So guess what? They're going to go round, and that could cause chaos. We've seen what's happened in the oil spike. And I've told you so many times, do not trade oil, because all it takes is one thing to happen. And had you been short last week on oil, you would have lost your shirt, because at the market open, the price gapped significantly above the price and you would have got taken out at the top. In fact, whilst we're on the subject, let me show you quickly what happened with oil. So here, so let's imagine you were short last week. You said, oh, great, look, it's coming up to a double top. I'm going to sell oil here and I'm going to have a stop there. And if I lose there, I lose 1% of my account. Well, it opened on yesterday, Sunday night, early morning, 50 odd pips higher. It could have been with the spread that it opened even higher. And for anybody daft enough to be hanging on in there hoping it's going to come back down again would now have lost their account by all accounts. So do not trade oil. Do not have orders over the weekend in these current markets. Lecture over. Mention it every week. People still send us emails saying, I lost the account or I blew up the funding because I did something silly. Please pay attention. So if you want to go back and see previous reports from myself in this blog, as I just explained earlier, go to the investing analysis and then you can click back through. This was showing you from last year. So my results last year were, by the year end, my stock portfolio was up over 160%. Predominantly that was gold miners and silver miners. Quickly show you that in a moment. And then also, I was showing you the account I managed for a friend was at 66% on December 23rd. By the 31st of December, it was at 100%. I've also shared that with you in this section of the blog. And then when I was talking down here about what gone on and how I'd hedged things and what we were doing, all of that is in here. And then there is an AI summary below about what I was doing last year. But last year, okay, what a clever boy I am. But the point is, that what you need to be thinking about is future plans. And I spoke last week in the live session about having a plan all the time. Have a plan. Join the dots. And as I just explained, if you thought that this year was going to be tricky because of all these potential geopolitical concerns, I mean, all we need now for the cherry on the cake is China to move into Taiwan next week. And then I have no idea what's going to happen. But it could signal a complete crash in the stock market and more upward movement in gold, which is my ultimate hedge. I also said at the beginning of the year, if you'd been in gold last year and you converted, whether it be British pounds or the dollar or the euro, if you'd, instead of having money sat in a bank, you would have made 80+% last year just by having it in gold. Since the start of the year, I'll show you in a moment how much you would be up had you followed my advice from this session in January, on January the 6th. So I spoke about investment strategy, highlighting the success with gold and silver. I talked about my investment strategy for this year, focusing on gold and silver as a hedge against stock market crashes. And I also showed you some of the mining stocks which made considerably more than gold and silver and the reason why. And then the outlook for this year. So on the 6th of January, when silver was at 67, I think it was, I said that I predicted it would go to $100 this year. I did it 3 weeks later. So 67% profit in 3 weeks was something I had planned in advance. Okay, so go back and familiarize yourself with that. So if you missed it this time, you'll be able to do this for yourself next time. So what happened with gold? Gold, as I say, gold at the weekend, I was watching Bullion Vault live prices and gold was up near all-time highs up here. And Shanghai looked as though it was higher. We're having a bit of a drop at the minute, which is great because those of you who haven't bought in already need to start thinking now, well, if this drops, where would I like to buy? And from an M2 perspective, the perfect place would be anywhere down here, 4,700. Look what the spike we got last time. And this, last time I showed you this the other week, That was I think it was a 78.6 fib pullback. I can't remember where I had it now. So I'm using the same strategy on everything. Oh, here. So that was a 78.6 fib pullback. Spoke about this earlier in the year. So gold on the 1st of January, gold was here. It went up 29% in, by what date was that? The 14th. No, the 10th of February. So within 3 weeks, gold was up 30%. Now, with my investing group, I was sending out messages the other day about taking profit and scaling out of some of the stocks because they had gone up even more. Silver last year was up 181% at its peak. And so far in 2026, silver it was up at its peak 67% in 3 weeks. Now, I have taken some profit off the mining stocks. I have kept the silver, and I have bought more silver in recent weeks for myself and clients down here, and I would be buying silver again today. Silver is a supply and demand issue. Gold is the ultimate safe haven and supply and demand. What's weird yesterday is crypto, because you would expect in this scenario that crypto would get hammered even more. But I noticed that we've got lots of the big ones now are now stuck in triangle patterns. This, after the event, I spotted is too late. That was a flag pattern suggesting a move down, and it worked almost to perfection. This is a triangle. If we get the break, the theory goes that this will be a move of about $10,000 or $11,000, which should take us back up to here. Then for stocks, so the other day, this was my favorite, one of my favorite silver mining stocks, was up 212% last year. And so far this year, today, it is up 90%. You've nearly doubled your money on a stock I told you about 6 weeks ago. I did take some profit the other day. The reason is because they're up so much, my portfolio is so imbalanced at the moment, and it happened last year. I went from it being 25% of my portfolio to nearly 50 because the gains were so significant. And again, Buenaventura from, I think it may be Peruvian, this one from the start of the year is up 57%. Core Mining, bought some more of this for clients the other week. These are M2 pullbacks, guys. This is an M2 pullback to 78.6 fib, a trend line of 55 EMA, previous major support and resistance, in a sector that I believe is going to continue to grow, and that's up 30%. EXK, bought that again the other week for clients as well. This was a bigger buy. This was a breakout pullback, Fibonacci trend line, 55 EMA. Look how the 55 EMA on this has been in control all the way up this move. And it's gone steeper again now, which gives you a bit more confidence. So from that move from 2 weeks ago, we're up 40%. And since the start of the year, where have we gone? Here we go. That's up 60%. So these are nuts. They're absolutely nuts. But if you're getting the right thing at the right time, you can make a serious amount of money. And one of the best ones last year was Heckler, that was up, that made us 310%. And this was a buy for myself and clients the other week. And that was 50% higher 3 weeks ago. In a market that hasn't changed, the dynamic hasn't changed. There is still not enough supply of silver. The demand is increasing exponentially. Last year, there was more silver traded and used than was mined. So they're digging into previous stockpiles, and the Chinese are now restricting, and the Chinese are the biggest holders of silver. So the supply and demand issue, to me, has not gone away. This is still a good buying area for me to buy more Heckler, and I say I have been sending this out to the investing group. Metal Royal and Streaming, I bought this a long time ago. McW&x, we bought some more McW&x. This is another one. I think this is a Canadian miner there. So that's up 58% since January. And even there, look at that pullback the other day. 78.6 fib, 55 EMA, previous major support and resistance in a bull market at a time when they're doing well. And this was nuts the other week. I think I showed you this as well. AG's results came out and their results were fantastic and it dropped. So this is the madness of it all. This is what we are trying to invest in and trade at the moment. And it's illogical in so many ways. This isn't, but Forex is, and crypto. I mean, this is all green. What the heck? Now, Circle, I have been buying Circle, and this is a stable coin. I've explained that. And also Coinbase, again, I've explained this in the past, they receive a substantial profit share from Circle, and Circle have just had very good results. So again, this, you wouldn't expect this to be going up at the moment, but I have been buying. I am buying when there is blood on the streets in the crypto world, and I've been buying MicroStrategy down here, and I've been buying Coinbase down at the bottom. Everybody else is fed up of it. Oh, it's rubbish, it's rubbish, it's rubbish. But if Coinbase goes back to where it was recently, that would be 120% higher. And for July yesterday, 150% higher. So be brave when others are fearful. But the easiest way to do that is to have a plan in advance. Make the plan. When things drop, I don't panic. When things drop, to me, the sales are on. I want to buy. This is great. If you were looking to buy a house, and let's say you're buying a new house and it's $500,000 and you say, no, I can't afford it, it's too expensive. Well, if that house is suddenly on sale at 400,000 and you really want it, that's great. Or, oh crap, the housing market's collapsing, I don't want to buy. Julian says, note, Iran has not closed the straits to deliveries to China or Russia. They will let them through. Okay. Yes, insurance has gone up massively too. Nobody will risk uninsured ships, obviously. Thank you, Julian, for that. Okay, right. Ashley needs more time today, so I said I will be very quick. And so I will leave you with that. And yep, scary times. Be careful. The moral, the story from all of us. And Ashley's going to explain now the implications of that for Forex. And we'll post my section replay tomorrow. But as I say, I would strongly urge you to go back and have a look through this, because I did explain this lesson, well, 2 months ago, but it was planned. And when you plan in advance and things drop, you don't get scared. And the final thing is, because I have hedged my portfolio with gold and silver, as this lot came down, the gold and silver went up. So my portfolio was level. And that is the plan. You're welcome, Philip. Righty ho, Ashley. You said 20 minutes and I've done it in 19.
Bang on. Thank you, Mark.
Right.
Hi. Your fasting has stopped, I guess.
I know I stopped 10 minutes, 20 minutes ago.
Okay.
I'm on weight training now, and I'm going to talk to Julian because he's a bit of an expert in this. So
All right. Okay.
I was wasting away to nothing. Righty ho, I shall leave you to it. So I'm going to exit the room now because I've got to nip out.